Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Living Well with FOP and the Ability Toolbox program, our panel presentation today. I just want to give you a few little housekeeping rules. If you need translation, then you can click on the Wordly tab that is over in the chat box. And we do also have an international presenter video that will be in Portuguese. So the English users that have been joining us today, you've had the luxury of hearing everything in English, but you may need to use some translation a little bit later, and I will make sure and let you know when that happens. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm so excited that we can join this way. Obviously, we all prefer to be in person, but this is definitely the next best thing. Today's presentation, we have a panel of people from the FOP community, and this is usually a pretty popular presentation, but there are other presentations going on concurrently. So just know that those are being recorded and you can go back and watch them if you'd like to. So let's go ahead and get started because I know everyone is anxious to see our panelists. For those of you who are new to the IFOPA or new to the FOP community, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what is this Ability Toolbox program that we keep talking about. It is a fairly new program, and it was actually started by a mom in the FOP community, Amanda Callie. She began reaching out to the community to see what tools everyone was using, and as she was reaching out, she started collecting a lot more tools, and eventually when some of the first symposiums and family gatherings happened, she would bring all those tools with her for everyone to see, and they began calling it the Traveling Resource Center. All of that interest around the tools just kept growing and growing, and Amanda ended up helping the IFOPA start an actual official program, which today we now call the Ability Toolbox program. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Amanda for all of her hard work, and a special thanks to her foundation, the Radiant Hope Foundation, which sponsors the Ability Toolbox program along with some of the pharmaceutical companies, Ipsen, Regeneron, and Blueprint. So thank you so much to all of you for helping get this Ability Toolbox program off the ground. And I think we've had a pretty successful first year. And I'm excited where things are going. So thank you to all of you. So what is the Ability Toolbox program? Basically, it's a program designed to empower individuals with FOP by promoting independence through the use of tools or adaptive equipment or home adaptations. The primary goal, and the goal that I have for this program, is really to help you all develop a problem-solving mindset so that you can start to solve some of the problems and challenges that you might face as FOP progresses. And how do we do that? This is taken directly from our brochure, but we can increase opportunities for independence and then promote higher levels of confidence. We can assist community members with developing sustainable habits of using tools on a regular basis so that maybe you're not relying on your caregivers so much and it creates balance in the lives of you and your families. And we also hope to empower people to solve problems by creating tools that meet their specific needs. So these are kind of the ways that we try to help you with the program, but I just want to take a quick moment and point out a couple of words on here: higher levels of confidence, balance in the lives of families, and empowering. Now, using tools is kind of a physical act with mobility, but as wonderful as it is to be successful with a tool and have that physical accomplishment, I definitely want to emphasize that there is an emotional component to this. Using a tool, the emotional benefits that you can get from that sometimes even far outweigh the physical benefits. Pushing yourself to be resourceful, solving your own problems, and advocating for yourself can actually help build self-esteem, give you that sense of empowerment, and even affect your overall emotional health and well-being. And I appreciated the pain management talk that just went on a little bit ago. Dr. Abachi actually gave a shout out to the Ability Toolbox program, and I'm so glad he did, because there is an emotional aspect to using adaptive equipment that can affect your overall well-being. So thank you to him for that. So I usually try to help guide people in the same way every time we are facing a challenge. So how do you solve a solution? First, obviously, is identifying the limitation, whether it's an old or a new limitation. Maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do, but you've been a little too nervous to try or hesitant to try. Or maybe you've had a flare-up and you've lost some mobility. But whatever it is, sometimes it helps to actually write down that limitation that you want to tackle. Are you having trouble bending over and tying your shoes? Are you having trouble brushing your teeth or washing your own hair? Are you relying on someone to help feed you and you'd really rather just feed yourself? Write it down, and sometimes that solidifies it a little bit more that it's something that you want to work on. Then once you identify what you want to do, we recommend that you look and see what others have tried. See if there's a tool that is already out there that exists that might help you. Amazon is a great place to look. Doing a Google search, if you have access to any physical therapy or occupational therapy catalogs, that's a great place to look. But the best one to look is right within your own community in social media. If you are new to the FOP community, we have a support group on Facebook that is closed just to the FOP community that no one else can join. Support for FOP, and there are so many great conversations that happen there. People ask questions, and then people in the community answer with some of the solutions that they found that worked for them, and that's a really great place to start looking for a solution. And then lastly, if you can't get help through support for FOP, or you can't find a tool that is out there that's already going to work for you, then let's try adapting a tool, or let's even try creating your own. You don't have to be especially creative to create your own tool, and I can definitely help you with those resources. So what if that 3-step solution doesn't work for you and you still need help? That's where I come in. That's where the Ability Toolbox program comes in. Please reach out to me. I try to make myself pretty accessible. You can text me or call me if you're in the United States. You can email me. My email address is there on the screen. I do actually have access to the Support for FOP Facebook group, so I try to chime in there, and you're welcome to private message me through Facebook Messenger. And for those of you who are international and spread across the world, I am on WhatsApp, and I'm happy to communicate with you, whether it's a phone call or through text messaging through WhatsApp, and we can use Google Translate to help us communicate if English isn't a language you speak. And then I can also do Zoom in the same manner. We are learning very quickly how to be a digital world, and we have learned that Zoom has translation services that we have signed up for to provide subtitles. So even if you don't speak English, we can still find a way to connect. We also are about to launch our Tool Ambassadors program. So right after the family gathering is over, I'm going to be working with a few of the FOP community members that have agreed to be Tool Ambassadors. So if you're not yet comfortable reaching out to me, that's completely fine. I will have some people in the community that have different expertise levels in different types of tools, and I have parents of children with FOP. I have adult males and females living with FOP, so we can connect you to someone that you feel comfortable with. If you are a physician joining us this weekend, in 2021, we are going to have medical toolkits so that if you have individuals with FOP coming into your office that might want a little more information about tools, I am creating medical toolkits for you to have in your office to share with others. There will be the tools you see here are some of the tools that I'm going to be including, but there are a couple more homemade tools that we are adding to it. This year, at the end of this year, I'll be sending out a few kits to a few doctors around the world as a prototype. They're going to give me some feedback on what works and what needs to be improved upon. And 2021, I hope to be when you can contact me and have one for your own office. Also coming in just a couple weeks, I really tried hard to get it launched by the family gathering, but we're still working on a login experience. But we have a new Ability Toolbox online guidebook, and this is going to be a database all those great suggestions that you all give on support for FOP, or if you call me and share pictures with me or share videos with me, I'm going to start cataloging all of those in an online database that you all will have access to. And it'll be categorized by activity of daily living, ADLs. So if you want to see tools for bathing, you can go to the bathing section. If you want to see tools for pediatrics that children might need at school, there'll be a section for that. So that is also coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm very excited. So be looking for our launch for that. And then lastly, if you live in a part of the world where you maybe can't get the tools that we can get in the United States, or maybe the health programs in your country don't provide adaptive equipment, we do have some financial help for you as well. The Harold and Elaine Kaplan Quality of Life Awards. This is a program we have in place that provides a scholarship to anyone who has FOP. Previously, it was $1,500 US dollars that you could use at any point in your lifetime on something that improves your quality of life. But last year, Dr. Fred Kaplan, he made a very generous donation from a medical award that he won, and that generous donation allowed us to increase the amount to $1,800. So if you have previously used your Quality of Life Award and used up the $1,500, you do now have $300 that you can use. But I help run that program as well. And if there's something that you are really wanting and you don't have the financial means of getting it, then we do have a program in place to even help you in that way. And the Harold and Elaine Kaplan Quality of Life Awards, that is on our website, and the link is there that you can see. It's just an application that you fill out online, and we do have a translation button that you can use. The international awards are a little bit more difficult to process, so I just ask for your patience when we're trying to do that. But I do encourage everyone around the world to apply if they need it. So I don't want to take up all the time with me talking because everyone is really excited to hear from our panelists. So I want to introduce the first panelist, which is Kristi Gonzales. Kristi's son AJ was diagnosed with FOP at 2.5 years old, and soon thereafter they created an organization called AJ's Avengers to fundraise and raise awareness for FOP. In addition to her IFOPA involvement, she's currently our board chair. Kristi serves on the New Jersey Rare Disease Alliance, the Rare Disease Day Organizing Committee, participates in Running for Rare, and was a member of the FOP Mothers Retreat planning team. Kristi lives in New Jersey with her husband Rico, along with AJ, age 8, and they have 2 daughters, Alexis, 20, and Lily, 15. And I encourage you to go to the Fun Zone that Alexis is helping us run, and she's doing a great job. After 18 years working as a paralegal, Kristi took a senior executive administrative position as at an insurance brokerage firm. And in this role, she helps facilitate insurance requirements for clinical research trials. She also serves as co-director of Special Spaces, which is an organization that creates dream bedrooms for children with life-threatening illnesses. So Kristi, I will throw it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Whew. So I was kind of taught early on that if we treat AJ like he's disabled, he will be. And if we treat him that he's capable of the world, he will be. And that's really kind of our motto as a family and what we've gone by. AJ was unaffected when he was diagnosed, and he lost mobility quite quickly after. So we've really worked hard on him being independent and having tools and equipment, and it has really helped him emotionally. AJ's now 10, so he doesn't want us assisting with him with everything. He wants to do things on his own. And it just gives him so much more, I would say, pride and accomplishment that he does it on his own. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. So as you can see here, there's a picture of the Billy footwear, and that's actually something that's been quite popular on the FOP Facebook sites lately. And these shoes are phenomenal. So AJ doesn't have any movement in his ankles. So to bend his foot to kind of get into a shoe, it really just doesn't work for us. So these actually come and they unzipper in the front. His foot just slides in, and now he's actually able to to take his um, dressing stick, and it has like a little pull on the end and actually zip them up himself, which has been great. I have a great relationship with Billy from Billy's Footwear, and they are making extra wide. And they have recently made low tops, which are actually even easier, which is phenomenal. Our next big issue was really putting on a winter jacket for AJ. So, his arms don't go back, and we couldn't get a jacket on him, and it's cold. So, how do we correct that problem? So, I had gone to a seamstress and I took a jacket. This is our Hulk jacket. And we asked him to cut it directly in half. And actually, after some fighting and arguing with the seamstress, she did what we asked, and it has actually been life-changing for us. So it has 2 zippers. Our back is actually always zippered, but the front we unzipper and we literally pull it on him and then zip it in the back. So we're not worried about bending his arms backwards or hurting him trying to put on a simple winter jacket. So we were lucky enough to receive from Tommy Hilfiger like 6 pieces of clothing. They're pants for easy closure. So there's no buttons, there's no snaps. It's actually a magnet. And for our kids who have some issues with how clothes feel, they're tagless. And we have some great dress shirts because, along with the jacket, it's hard to get certain shirts on our children or adults. And they do make adult clothing, and it's phenomenal. But what they have is these shirts that instead of buttoning, they're magnets. So nobody really knows, which has been great. AJ actually is still at the point where he likes to show off. He can fling open his shirt and show everybody. But for the people who don't want to be showing off, you would never know that they were magnets and not buttons. So, and this has been, honestly life-saving, I would say. And I think it's, I'm thrilled now. Some of these clothes don't fit him, but what I've actually done is taken kind of their style, gone to my seamstress and had buttons taken out and magnets put in. So I can adapt our own clothes now. Bathing. Bathing was another huge issue for us. AJ actually fell in our shower. So he was refusing to kind of get in. And we had actually ordered this chair, the blue one that you see. And when it first came, he was really, really hesitant about it. But we started with filling up the bathtub with the chair in there, and then actually turning on the shower and then letting him wash himself, but sitting in the chair. So he didn't have any worry of falling, which is huge for our kids. And for anyone. So we don't have an adaptable shower or a tub yet. So this kind of really helps us. Also, which I never had realized, but this chair actually you can take to the beach or your pool also and use it there, which is another, double use of something, which is great. We just got AJ this head ring visor. So because he can't move his neck, this, when we pour water over his head like anybody else, it gets into his eyes. And it was one more thing we were carrying on about. So our daughter Alexis had found this ring. We bought it. And this ring allows us, as you can see, to just be able to rinse his hair and not have anything go in his eyes. It's one of those simple solutions that just saves less crying or carrying on or aggravation. Also, as you can see, and I think we have another slide with this, but this is and I got this from the dollar store, is a long brush. So I put these little hooks in the shower, and then he's able to take this on his chair and use this long bath brush and wash himself and get all the areas that he needs to wash, Once again, I'm not in the shower. I'm not in the bathroom with him. He's able to do it himself. I won't fib. I do stand outside the door just waiting in case he needs me. But it has made him so much more independent that there's no more crying at bath time anymore, which is huge. Another resource that we use is with school. So we realized that AJ really needed a new desk chair. And what we did here was we went online to the FOP community and saw what everybody else was using. And then we found what they were using, but what we could get in the US. And this was our desk. So we didn't realize that AJ had needed a swivel chair because the teacher was moving from one area to the other. And we didn't realize that. So now he's able to turn himself completely from one side to the other because he has a swivel chair, which has been amazing. And that's AJ in the picture with his aide. So AJ does have a one-on-one aide. And then we couldn't figure out how to keep things on his desk because it's a little slanted for him. So we created these dollar store little baskets and hook them on, and he's able to keep his supplies and he's able to reach it. So all gaining independence while in school, while at home, while bathing, while dressing, I mean, it is key to your children. We also use a slant board to help AJ write. And I do know that some people have made their own just using a binder, which has been great. We've noticed AJ, doesn't always want to sit. So when he stands, he actually has a second desk, which you see here is the black one. It's a little tilted table. And when he stands, he writes on his slant board, and his writing has actually improved much better than what it was. AJ also has what we call his pick-me stick. And this stick is really because he can't raise his arms. And he was frustrated at school that nobody was calling on him. But nobody can call if nobody knows you're raising your hand. So AJ has this pick-me stick that he raises when he wants to answer a question with school. We actually use this. We use this in outside social activities and in school also, just letting us know when he's ready to speak or when he has something to say and he wants people to hear him. So we use the dressing stick and the grabber. So the grabber's used if something falls and he can't seem to reach it and can't get down. And his dressing stick, he has been amazing. It was tough in the beginning. They're frustrated. They want to do things right away. And I mean, AJ has learned how to use it, gets dressed himself now for the most part. So we haven't figured out how to put the shirt back on, but we can get the shirt off and we can get the pants off. And I always want to mention, we were having an issue with lights. So AJ was unable to turn lights on himself, and it was another form of frustration. So we actually have the grabber, but the other end of the grabber had this little U. And what we did was we took that U and we stuck these to the wall wherever there was a light. And AJ just literally lifts this up and can turn on and off the light. And that's been another changing aspect. He doesn't need us to call us to go to the bathroom or run to get something from his room or to turn on the family room light. They're all just simple things that we've learned that have worked for us and have worked for other kids. So if you have any questions, please let us know. All these will be in the online guide for the Ability Toolbox. And I mean, we're happy to be here and answer any questions. Karen?
What are you doing, AJ?
I'm taking my shirt off.
Good job.
I don't know if you could see that, but there was a little video of AJ that just played showing how he takes his shirt off, but I don't know that quite worked. So I apologize if it didn't, because he's a super cutie. Thank you, Kristi, so much. It's always fun to hear from a parent that sometimes it always doesn't go perfectly, but if you just stick with it and practice, using tools can be really valuable. So next up, we have Brian. Brian was diagnosed with FOP at age 5, and he lives in Cincinnati, Ohio with his mom and his adorable basset hound, which is going to make an appearance in his presentation. You all are going to love it. Brian has been a software developer for 20 years, and 2 years ago, he made the transition to work from home full-time. Good job, Brian, just in time for COVID, now that we're all doing it. Brian loves to travel and cook and go to concerts and watch movies. And I'm also just in awe of how many things he tackles. So he has some really great things to share. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
All right, thanks, Karen. So let me get the next slide. So first thing, I do love to cook. And so when Cincinnati comes and we have nice warm weather, I like to grill out as much as I can. And so a couple years ago, we put a deck on the back of my house. And one of the things I wanted was to be able to grill. And so I had the contractor basically build me a lowered platform to where I could basically put a normal size grill on there. And it lowers the grill down to about 24 inches, which is my perfect cooking height. And so as you can see here, I can go out on the deck, I can turn the grill on, I can cook. And then over here on the very far right, you can see, one evening I was basically grilling out some hamburgers for dinner. So it kind of gives me like the ability to kind of go out and, cook outside when the weather's nice. When the weather is not so nice, I like to cook indoors. So about 10 years ago, I basically took on the endeavor of putting on a whole new room onto my house and to basically make it my customized kitchen. So here you can see that I have all lower countertops. These are all 24-inch countertops off the floor. I have basically what would typically be your overhead cabinets, which are now kind of like my cupboards. So I have storage down there. And, I have a full 5-burner cooktop. I have a sink with a garbage disposal. And I have other things here. And then I'll give you another view. So this is kind of another view of it. So over here on the wall, I have basically all my pots and pans that I can get access to. And I have a little stool here that is good for like when my mom or when someone wants to help me. Because bending over when you have a 24-inch countertop is difficult on a person's back. So the stool kind of lets them be at my level and they can kind of, scoot around the kitchen much easier. And I kind of want to draw attention to these type of faucets because faucets like these basically make it very easy to use dressing sticks, kind of like what Kristi mentioned before, to basically turn on the water or to adjust hot or cold. Next thing here is for a dog door, and there should be a video here on the right. But this is basically something that, again, when the weather is warm out, my basset hound Snickers, she likes to go outside, but I don't want to constantly get up and let her out and let her in and let her out and let her in when I'm working. So we put in this screen door here, and basically right down the center, there's a magnet that basically kind of keeps it closed. And she can walk out and she can walk in whenever she wants. And so this is great because I can sit there and I can work all day. And I guess it's more of an independence thing for her than me because she can just go in and out whenever she wants to. And, oh, here we go. We have a video here. Sorry that it's sideways, but you can see that she walks out. And then you can see her tail wagging here. And then she's going to turn around and she will come back in. So there you go. So if you have a dog and you have some nice warm weather, this might be a good option for you. And in each one of my slides here, I try to put a link for like Amazon to where you can basically purchase this. I'm sure we can make these links available to you afterwards, so don't try to write them down as we're going through them because they are case sensitive. Whoops. Next slide. So the next slide here is a winch. And actually, I'm just going to play the video first. Okay. So I was having trouble getting up off my sofa. So I devised a winch here to basically pull myself up. And so we're going to let this go. So basically a little backstory with this is that I was having trouble getting up off the sofa because if the sofa is too high, I have trouble getting on it. and if the sofa is too low, I have a hard time getting off of it. And there were a couple of years there where I could kind of use a rope and I could kind of pull myself up and kind of wedge my feet underneath myself, and I was able to get up. But over the last couple of years, maybe I've gotten a little bit worse. It's been much more difficult for me, to the point where I did not have any confidence being able to get myself up, to the point where if I was home alone, I would not sit down on the sofa. I would just do other things. And so one day I got really kind of frustrated with not being able to sit down on the sofa and not being able to get up. So I decided, well, I'm going to try to fix this. And so I went on, kind of got some ideas of like trying to figure out, well, how can I do this? My first attempt was to try to see if I could get a lift sofa, kind of like a lift chair. They don't make such a thing. And after many calls to many manufacturers trying to see if they would sell me the parts for me to do it myself, they would not, due to liability issues. And so then I kind of thought of, well, maybe like a boat anchor, right? It's like, on a boat, you drop an anchor. How do you lift that anchor up? And you use a winch. So then I kind of did some research into that, which kind of led me over to an ATV winch, which basically I'm using here. Then once after I got the ATV winch, I figured out, because an ATV is direct current and your house is AC, I had to figure out, well, how do I wire this into my house? And so I basically got a power supply, and then my brother suggested, well, hey, how are you going to activate this thing? Maybe you should get a little remote. And so on the right here, you can see basically this remote, which is basically what I activate. So if I kind of click on it again, you can kind of see here, I'm holding the remote in my left hand. I'm holding basically the rope in my right hand. Whoops, let's go back. I'm holding the remote in my left hand. I have the rope in my right hand, and basically this thing just pulls me up. And this thing actually will pull 4,000 pounds, so I don't think there's going to be any trouble with it pulling me up off the sofa. And so there we go. And this has been fantastic, because now I have all the confidence in the world of sitting down on the sofa and getting up. It doesn't matter if I have socks on or what, because I know this thing will absolutely 100% pull me up. And then next slide. So this is my office, right? So I work from home full time. And one of the things I was having a challenge with there was getting up off of my chair. Like for lunch, going to the bathroom, letting stickers in and out. And so I went through a couple different things there to try to figure out what I could do. So my first idea was, to get like a typical chair mat. But then when my feet were moist or wet, or then it was very slippery, and I didn't have my confidence getting up there. So then I found some kind of traction socks and tried that. But then, that really didn't give me a lot of confidence, because my feet would slide a little bit on the carpet. So my mom went to a shoe store one day and was trying to look for something with grip, and she found these Crocs. And these are actually, I think these are like medical or these are special industrial Crocs, where if you look at the bottom of them, you can see that they have a lot of traction. And so what I'm able to do is, when I want to go get up from my chair in my office, I can just hold on the rope. I can put my foot very easily into a Croc, and then I have very, very good traction with my right foot, and I'm able to pull myself up with a rope there. And again, here's a link to those type of clogs. And again, if you try to use any rope, I suggest using like a 3/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch rope. Anything smaller will just tear your hands up, and anything thicker might be kind of difficult to tie. So I try to shoot for that type of diameter. Next thing that has been fantastic for me has been home automation. So this has been something that have been kind of building on over the past 2 years. And it's something I've actually had in my house probably about 10 years ago, but I never really did a whole lot with it besides doing just like a simple motion sensor. Like if I walk into the bathroom, it turns the light on, right? And so I thought that was so cool. When I started out my new company, one of my team members was really into home automation, and he was showing me some of the stuff that he was doing, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, this is so cool. So I'm like, I need to get more into this, right? And so basically what I've started doing over the last 2 years is really automating my house, right? And so on the left here, the two images you see, these are basically screens from my phone. So this is basically a mobile website. And then on the right, you see basically the screenshot of what it would look like on my computer or like on a laptop. And so as you can see here, I'll kind of talk about the one on the right. Can you see more? I can control my office lights, my printer, my scanner in my office. I can unlock or lock all my doors. I can open up or close my garage door. I can turn lights on in my great room. I can turn lights on in my spare bedroom. Same thing with my kitchen. I can turn the lights on. I have a series of external lights that I can control. The master bedroom, again, lights, but more importantly, one of the great things in there is a fan. So, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm hot or I'm sweaty, I can just, turn on my ceiling fan, and that's been fantastic, because before, when I was going to bed, I'd have to say, okay, well, turn the fan on low, because if you turn it on medium, I'm going to be too cold, but if you don't turn it on, then I'm hot. And so I kind of had to guess of where I wanted that. Now I have full control over the fan anytime I want, which has been fantastic. And again, I can control all this stuff from my phone too, so I can be across the country and I can turn my lights on. And to do this, what I've done is I purchased a Raspberry Pi, which is basically a very small, very cheap computer. I got Home Assistant, which is the home automation software you see here, and that is free. And then I bought a Z-Stick, which is kind of what I use to control a lot of my light switches. So all in all, it cost me for the Raspberry Pi about $80, and for the Z-Stick about $50 to basically get started, right? And then from there, the sky's the limit of how far you want to go with it, or how much you want to do. So again, like for home automation, like I said, my plan was to start small, walk into the bathroom, turn on the light, walk into the office, turn on the light. I thought that was so cool. Then one year for Christmas, I got a Amazon assistant. I can't say her name because she's sitting right here next to me. But with that, I was able to control my TV with a Logitech Harmony remote. I'm like, that's so cool. And then I started basically going through and replacing all of my light switches with Z-Wave switches. So now I can control every light in my house. I can control every ceiling fan in my house as well. Then past that, I basically replaced a lot of my lights with LifeX light bulbs, which are Wi-Fi enabled. This allows me to dim light bulbs or even change colors, which I kind of use for alerts and notifications. So like I try to go to bed at a certain time every night. So around 10 o'clock, my lights in my great room will flash green to kind of let me know, hey, you should go to bed. And then 15 minutes later, they're flash yellow. And then 15 minutes later after that, they're flash red. So I kind of use these for type of like alerts and notifications. I also replaced a lot of my door locks with Z-Wave locks. And so now what I can do is when I'm going to bed, I can say bedtime, and I basically have a script that will go through and it will shut off all my lights and will lock all my doors. And so I can just with one word, I can say that, and it kind of secures my home. Same thing when I'm coming home, I can say, hey, I'm home, and it will turn on lights and it will do a bunch of other stuff. And I also installed a Ring doorbell, which is basically a doorbell which allows you to kind of see who it is on your phone. And this is great because even though I work from home and I'm only 20 steps away from the door, it takes me about a minute to get my stick, get my rope, get up, go over the door, open it up. And so it's just kind of a pain. And so with the Ring doorbell, it's great because I'm able to very easily just grab my phone, open up the Ring app, see who's at the front door, talk to them, and go on about my day. So home automation has been fantastic for me. Another thing that I got a few years ago, and this is actually, I have to give props to Patrick Dewar for this because he suggested this to me, was basically getting an adjustable bed. So for approximately 20 years of my life, ever since I basically went to college, I would wake up multiple times throughout the night to roll over, right? So I would fall asleep on my left side, wake up about 3 hours later in pain, have to roll over to my right side, go back to sleep, wake up a couple hours later in pain, and just have to roll over and pretty much repeat that back and forth until I got up. And so I was talking with Pat because Pat was going through a flare-up at the time, and he suggested I get a bed like this. So this is actually a Leggett and Platt frame, which is basically a highly adjustable frame. You can raise the head, you can raise the feet. I got a latex mattress, which is the softest, most comfortable mattress that you can buy. And this thing is fantastic because I am now able to pretty much sleep on this thing throughout the entire night, stay in the same position, and I wake up the next day and I have a good night's sleep. I don't have any pressure sores. I don't wake up in pain whatsoever. So it's been fantastic. This is basically the maximum head lift and the maximum leg lift for the bed. This is not how I sleep because it would force me into a taco and be very uncomfortable. But I do sleep in a variation of this where I have my head elevated a little bit and my feet elevated a little bit. It does come with a remote control. I have not hooked this into my home automation system yet. But I'm able to put the remote control where I can reach it with my left hand, and then I'm able to adjust the head, adjust the feet if I need to throughout the night. It even has a massage capability that I can turn on. A few other miscellaneous types of things I kind of want to go over to kind of make my life easier is, for one, we basically got these forks and spoons. So back when I was in college, probably about 20 years ago, my right arm locked up, which prevented me from being able to touch my mouth. So I needed longer forks and longer spoons. And so my dad basically made these for me. They're elongated handles, wooden handles, with a fork or a spoon basically inserted in there. I typically make more of my own stuff because I tend to be I'm very hard on stuff. So the type of stuff that you would buy for like an adjustable spoon or adjustable fork, it won't last more than a day with me. And so I tend to have to make a lot of custom stuff to kind of go, to be strong enough to handle, how much pressure I put on these. So this is kind of like, what my forks and spoons will look like. And at the bottom here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but I basically have a little wooden container here for my straws. And so this is basically a little cart that I have sitting in my kitchen, and it's about 30 inches tall. But and my uncle basically made this little wooden container for me that I screwed on the side, and this is basically for all my straws. So again, since I work from home, I have to make my lunch every day. I'm able to go in my kitchen. I'm able to, get my fork, get my spoon, get my straw, get my drink, and basically do everything I need to do to make myself a meal. So that's been very nice. Over here and going to the right, you can see I have a few different faucet handles. The one on the bottom is my faucet for the master bath. And again, I basically use my dressing stick to turn the water on or to adjust the temperature. And then in my shower, again, I have a very simple rotary one that I can basically turn the power on, and then as well as just kind of move that center dial left or right if I want hot or cold water. So that's been very helpful as well. Moving over here, you basically have this is an actual bottom buddy. This is actually in our list of stuff for wipers, but it was not long enough for me. And so this white material on the bottom here is called Rayon or Royalin, and it's a splinting material. This is a material that when it is at normal room temperature, it's very hard, but when you heat it up in water, it becomes very, very pliable. And so what you're able to do is you're able to basically cut a rough shape, heat it up in some water, mold it in any form or fashion that you need, and then once it cools down, it's very, very rigid. So I've been able to extend the bottom buddy with this Royalin splinting material, which has been fantastic. And I actually completely forgot to include another thing that I use. I have a stick that I use to help put my boxer shorts on after I take a shower, and the end of it is kind of in the shape of a horseshoe. And that's basically made with the same Royalin splinting material that me and an occupational therapist went through to try to figure out, well, how would this work? And, we were able to basically kind of construct something like that. And the one here on the very far right is basically a razor. Luckily, I don't have a lot of facial hair, but, I do have a couple, I do have to shave at least once a week. And so this has been very helpful for me here. This is basically just about a foot long dowel rod with a razor, and the things are called cable cuffs that pretty much just kind of attach it there. You can use that, you can use tape, you can use whatever you want to kind of basically make something longer. So let's see. Next one here. So again, dressing sticks. I think probably every person with FOP is going to use a dressing stick at some point in their life. But for me, the typical dressing stick that you get that's made out of wood is just garbage. It doesn't last. For me, I end up breaking them because, like I said, I'm very hard on materials, and also the wood is very soft, and so the very end of it just starts spinning around in the dressing stick, and it's not very good. And so I did a little searching, and I found basically you can buy acrylic rods, and that's basically what these are. So what you have to do is you have to buy your typical dressing stick, which is basically in order just to get the hook. So it's kind of a shame that you have to spend $20 or $25 to basically just get a hook. But you do that, you get your hook, you throw that little piece of wood away, and then you can go buy basically some acrylic rods. And I typically buy them in about 6 feet at a time, and then I can cut them to be whatever size that I want. So here, the blue stick on the right is my typical one that I use all the time for things. It's actually the one right here. Oops. That I have right here. So this is the one I pretty much carry around with me everywhere I go. This is pretty much my third hand, which allows me to reach or pretty much do anything I can. And that is a blue acrylic rod. And then the one on the left is a much shorter one, and I call this my sleeping stick. So this is the one that I will pretty much have in bed with me in the evening, because if the stick is too long, then it won't work with trying to move coverage around or anything like that. Because trying to take a 27-inch stick underneath the cover to move coverage around is very, very difficult. But the smaller one works out great. I also use the smaller one. I have a couple of these that I would use like when I'm on my scooter, to operate my camera or to kind of to do travel stuff with. So again, I would shoot for the 3/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch diameter. 3/8 of an inch is typically the diameter of one of those typical dressing sticks. You don't want to go with anything thinner than that, because then they break. And then you have a 1/2 inch. You can even go thicker with that, but I find the 1/2 inch to be pretty much one of those sizes being very, very good. Another thing here on my scooter. So I use a scooter to get around when I'm not at home. And this was actually, I have to kind of give props to Snickers for this, because by me trying to figure out something for her, I figured out something for me. So I was taking Snickers to dog training, and we were doing nose work, which is basically where she has to go around and she has to find things with her nose. And I needed the ability to give her treats and reward her immediately right when she would find something. And so my trainer suggested something about having some sort of like cup or bag or something with treats, and I thought, maybe I can get like a little cup and mount it to my scooter. But then I remembered that the scooter actually is made out of metal, like around the whole handlebar is metal. So what I did was I basically found like these like little dipping cups, which are metal, and I basically just glued very, very strong magnets to the bottom of these. These are like rare earth magnets. They're very, very strong, and I was able to do something like that. And then when I would go training with her, I could put a bunch of dog treats in there, and I could very easily, with one of my long forks, yes, my dog will eat off of a fork, I could basically grab a piece of steak or grab a piece of chicken and give it to her. Everyone at dog training actually thought that was adorable, that I was feeding my basset hound with a fork. But after that, I thought, hey, you know what? I was going to a lot of movies, pre-COVID pandemic stuff. I was going to the movie theater probably once a week, and I would get their pretzels, which I loved having their pretzels. Problem was, I didn't have anything to put the pretzels on, because I was on my scooter, and it was very difficult to eat pretzels off of a scooter and with dipping, with a dipping cup and stuff. So then I thought about, well, if I get some like surgical trays, and I put a couple strong magnets in the bottom of those, I can basically have a tray now on my scooter, so I can eat easier. And so this worked out fantastic. So like I have these the surgical metal tray. This is like a 6-inch surgical metal tray. I think it's typically used by dentists. And I just basically have a couple magnets glued and taped to the bottom. And now I'm able to basically put this tray on my scooter. It's not going to move because the magnets are very strong and they hold it there. And now I'm able to basically sit on my scooter and I'm able to eat something without getting it all over me or spilling all over the place. So this has been fantastic as well. And then over here on the scooter in the upper right, you see like a little cup holder. And this has been fantastic as well, as also because now, when I'm on my scooter, I'm able to have a drink. And I'm able to have like a bottle of soda or a drink or something else there. If I'm on vacation, it might be an alcoholic beverage. But I'm able to kind of have that ability to kind of, have my one hand, which I pretty much use for driving and pretty much use for everything, I'm able to have that free, and I'm able to, to be more independent on my scooter. So these have been fantastic as well. And let's see, this is my last slide, but last, for fun, I like to go on vacation, but, I like, and when I go on vacation, I like to take pictures. And so photography is one of the things I really enjoy doing. But I was struggling with early on, like, well, how am I going to actually take pictures? Like, because trying to hold the camera, driving the scooter, doing all that stuff would be very, very difficult. So I did some brainstorming and thought, well, I wonder if I can try to mount some sort of tripod to my scooter. And so I called the folks over at B&H Photo and was talking with them, trying to figure out, what could I do? And they were like, hey, if you take this and you plug it into this and you do this, we were able to kind of come up with something here. So what you see here is, again, this is my scooter, my scooter. And at the bottom, you see the clamp. And this is like a very, very strong clamp. The thing can hold like 50 pounds. But basically, that's clamped onto my scooter. And then on top of that, I have what is called a mini ball head. This is pretty much just like a little adapter to kind of give me a little bit of height. And on the top here, I have a two-way tripod head, which allows me to, I can grab my hand, I can grab the tripod arm, and I can move it, I can raise it, I can lower it, and I can do whatever I need to take pictures. And so this basically gives me a lot of fun when I go on vacation or whatnot, to be able to take, lots of pictures and decorate my house with them. And then in order to operate the camera, as I said, I have a short dressing stick that I use to operate the buttons in the back. And then I have a remote shutter button, which I can plug into the side to actually take the picture. And so this is giving me a lot of independence when I want to do something fun. And so I think that's my last slide. Yep, I will turn it back over to you, Karen.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was amazing. I told you all that you would definitely enjoy his presentation. And I just have a couple of comments. Adaptive equipment is for everyone, obviously, right? If Snickers has adaptive equipment and can use a screen to get outside and can eat off of an extendable fork, then I think we all could probably benefit somehow in some way from using adaptive equipment. So I love that. I'm glad Snickers was a part of today with us. And I also just want to point out that sharing tools like this with each other, this is what makes the Ability Toolbox program so incredibly valuable. It's not me. I'm just here. Some of you probably don't know me or my background, but I am a physical therapist. So I do know a lot about adaptive equipment. But as you all know, the adaptive equipment that is out there more often than not does not work for someone with FOP, and we have to adapt it, or we have to get creative and come up with our own ideas. And honestly, I am just here to share all of those ideas that you all give to me, which is, again, why I'm so excited for the online guidebook to come out in the next few weeks, because I am just going to be taking all of your amazing ideas like Brian shared with us and adding them to that database so that you all can see them. So please, even if you don't need to reach out to me for support, reach out to me and share with me your tools, because even though you might not think it's important, months down the road, someone may contact me that needs help, and you might have given me the perfect solution for someone else. So that is what makes the Ability Toolbox program so incredibly valuable, is when you all can contribute. So thank you so much, Brian. I also just want to say that some of the things Brian shared is pretty high tech, right? And all of that home automation equipment, all of the Alexa and Google Home and Siri, I mean, everything out there is starting to accommodate not just people with a disability, but it's definitely benefiting people with disabilities. And I encourage you to look into it. It can get expensive. So again, we do have that quality of life award that you can apply for. And most of the items like we're talking about today would be something that would be appropriate to use that item, to use that award for. We do have a committee that makes the decisions. It is not myself. We have a committee made up of parents of children with FOP and also individuals with FOP. And they are basically making those decisions on whether or not those awards are appropriate, just based on what they know about living with FOP. And they are definitely keeping your safety in mind when you're applying for those awards. So thank you so much, Brian. We do have one more presentation from Ana Laura. She is from Rio Grande do Sul. Let me forward this so you can see her. Unfortunately, she is in Brazil. We were trying to get her connected today. We knew that we would not be able to connect her with video, but we were trying to at least connect her with phone, and it just wasn't working. But we will be able to at least watch her video. And Ana Laura did let me know that if you have any questions specifically for her on what she's presenting on today, that you can contact her and call her through Instagram, and I will be putting that link in the chat while her video is playing. So if you do have any questions for her, she would be more than happy to answer them if you want to reach out to her. But Ana Laura is 23 years old and lives in Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, and she lives with FOP. Today, she is going to be sharing with us her perspective on having her jaw fused. So we're going in a little bit different direction about using tools, but I wanted Ana to present because she's showing that that problem-solving mindset of if something happens and you are faced with a challenge. In her case, her jaw was fusing and she was unable to chew and eat. She had a really great way of solving a problem on how to fix that. She ended up having two friends that had started the cookbook, and then they asked her to continue on and help finish it for them. Ana Laura is a writer, and she writes motivational texts, inspiring stories, and she likes to tell about her life and her experiences on Instagram. In her free time, she enjoys watching movies and playing on her cell phone, and she also has a group of others with FOP in Brazil that she gets together with to share and talk about FOP. So hopefully I'm able to get her video to play here and we can listen to her. Again, a reminder, she will be broadcasting her video in Portuguese. We did include English subtitles on the screen, so you don't necessarily need to use Wordly if you speak English, but you may want to maximize your video screen instead of the slides, because we don't have slides during her video, but you can maximize your screen so that if you are English speaking, you can at least see the English subtitles. So here is Ana Laura's presentation.
Oi, meu nome é Ana Laura, eu tenho 23 anos, sou do Brasil, do Rio Grande do Sul, e eu vou falar um pouco sobre o livro de receitas que eu fiz. Bom, primeiramente, quem começou esse livro foi a Mariana junto com a Natália, e eu fui convidada só depois, no finalzinho, e ajudei a Natália a terminar o livro. E, bom, eu pesquisei. Primeiro eu tava no início, né, da minha calcificação na mandíbula. E aí eu fui pesquisando papinha, coisa com vegetais pastosos. E aí eu fui adaptando, que é mais no dia a dia mesmo, porque de receita mesmo eu não fazia muito. Era mais no dia a dia, assim, que eu pensava nas coisas e ia fazendo. Por exemplo, eu batia batata com feijão no liquidificador, fazia batida de frutas, de banana com aveia e outras frutas. Eu fui adaptando o que tinha no meu dia a dia e o que eu conseguiria comer. Há alguns anos eu sou vegetariana, faz quase 5 anos. Então, para mim, já foi melhor porque eu já não forçava tanto a minha mandíbula. E por conta disso também eu como mais vegetais e frutas. Eu procuro manter uma alimentação mais ou menos equilibrada, né? Mais ou menos. Adoro doce. Mas eu tento manter uma boa alimentação. Faço acompanhamento no médico, faço exame de sangue. As únicas coisas que eu precisei repor foram vitamina B12, que isso qualquer pessoa, mesmo que coma ou não coma carne, vai precisar repor. E além da vitamina B12, da vitamina D e do cálcio, não tive nenhuma outra deficiência de vitaminas ou precisei repor outros nutrientes. Eu nunca fui muito no dentista, então talvez isso tenha ajudado a minha mandíbula não travar tanto. Sempre quando eu estava no início da calcificação, eu cuidei bastante, não forcei. Me alimentava basicamente de alimentos pastosos ou líquidos, com colher ou canudo. Agora eu até mastigo, mas quando eu percebo que tá começando a ficar, a boca tá ficando dolorida ou tá enrijecendo, eu volto para os alimentos pastosos e melhora. Agora eu vou deixar umas imagens de eu fazendo uma das batidas que tem no livro. Os ingredientes não são necessariamente obrigatórios. Pode adaptar com o que você tiver em casa. É bem fácil e é bem gostoso.
All right, thank you. Hopefully you all were able to see that video come through okay. I so wish Ana Laura could be here with us today, but I just got done putting the link to her Instagram account in the chat. So if you do have any questions for her, please reach out to her. She said she was more than happy to answer any questions for you all. And I did also want to say that I put Ana Laura's recipe book in the exhibitors booth, the Ability Toolbox exhibitors booth. It is in Portuguese, but it's very easy to Google Translate. I tried a couple of recipes and put it through Google Translate, and it was very easy to understand. So you can download her recipe book. And we also have Nancy Sando, who lives in the United States. Put that back up there. She also created a cookbook called Just Whip It, and it's basically a guide of some different principles to use if you are having trouble with chewing or swallowing. And then there are also recipes in that guide as well. So I also uploaded Nancy's cookbook, Just Whip It. It's also in the Ability Toolbox exhibitors booth, so please feel free to go and visit there and download those. if you are maybe needing some more ideas of what to eat, and your jaw doesn't have to be completely fused for some of these recipes. Like Ana Laura said in her video, sometimes she has some flares where she's having a little bit more jaw pain, and she'll revert back to some softer foods or liquid foods until that subsides, and then she usually does okay. So definitely go and check out their recipe books in the Ability Toolbox exhibitors booth. So now we're just going to take a little bit of time to ask some questions of our panelists. First, I wanted to address a few things that had been in the chat. Yoki had asked about sleeping for her daughter with scoliosis, and I see some people responded and gave her some resources. Something that's tricky with positioning, whether it's bed positioning or even wheelchair positioning, is finding that balance of a firm enough cushion to provide the support that you need, but also pairing it with maybe a memory foam mattress topper to allow for comfort if there are any bony prominences that you may have on your back or your shoulders or your sides. So there is a very tricky balance. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. But definitely as soon as that Ability Toolbox guidebook comes out online, I will start adding all of the suggestions that the community shares with me on different beds that they have tried and used and seem to work. But you also may want to reach out to the FOP experts. They're very willing to communicate with you and make sure that you're doing everything you need to medically to support Haley's scoliosis. So thank you for sharing that. A couple of questions. It looks like, Kristi, there were some questions for you or Brian about adaptive clothing. It looks like they wanted to know what your thoughts were on those Billy shoes on the wide version, if they were wide enough. Is it better to go with the wide option? And if you have any experience with the low top version versus the high top version of shoe, they would love to hear your feedback on that.
That AJ prefers the low top version more than he does the high top. He doesn't have anything around his ankles, so he definitely prefers the low top option. And we did go with wide because of how the toes are bent. So I recommend that, and they have just increased the width in adult shoes also. And he's constantly changing things for the needs of every community. So it's always good to reach out to him also. But we did go with wide, and we started with high tops, but actually his 3 pairs he has now are all low tops.
Great, thank you, Kristi. And something else just to note about adaptive shoes, Zappos.com recently started allowing you to buy 2 different shoe sizes if you need them, which is fantastic. Not just for people with disabilities. Not everybody has the same size feet, and it can be so frustrating if you have to buy a pair of shoes as a pair. But Zappos.com is now offering to buy shoes one at a time. Or if there's an amputee who only needs 1 shoe, why are you spending the money on an extra shoe? So that is a really great resource that the community let me know about. Another question for Kristi, again about adaptive clothing. The question is, when adapting clothes from the back, how do you make sure there's enough fabric in the back when adding the zipper to still adapt it?
So I would say that we adapt, there's plenty of fabric. I do buy, so if AJ's an 8, I probably buy a 10 jacket because I want it to last a little longer. But it's literally just cut in half. So if that's the size that your child wears, that's the size I would buy unless you want it to last a little bit longer. But when she cuts it in half, you can't even tell that the zipper is in there. So I'll actually have to have Karen show a picture of the jacket or maybe him wearing it, but you can't even tell that there's like an extra zipper. Every once in a while, it's funny how all of a sudden kids will notice, like if I go to unzip him and I unzip him a certain way, like why is there, why are you zippered, in the back and not in the front? But you really, you can't tell. It looks seamless.
Great. Thank you, Kristi. Brian, a question for you. I know you have a computer background, but you seem to have a pretty good background for some of the electrical adaptive equipment that you have made. Where did you learn somewhere where to do that? Or tell us a little bit about how you figured out how to do things like that.
Yeah, so when I basically did my winch, I knew enough to know that the winch was DC powered, which is direct current. So that's like an ATV. But I needed to wire it into my house, which was AC or alternating current. Beyond that, I didn't really know anything. So I just kind of did a lot of looking on YouTube. I talked with one of the guys I work with. He was very knowledgeable about those type of things. And I just knew I needed to find something that would convert AC to DC. And so that kind of what helped me kind of find a couple different converters off Amazon. And I bought about 6 of them to try to figure out which one would work. And I went up to Lowe's and basically bought a bunch of stuff to deal with wires, like wire connectors and stuff like that. So pretty much over probably the course of about maybe about a month and a half, I taught myself how to basically kind of get this thing to work. And so basically kind of doing that, looking on YouTube, really just kind of like fiddling around with some stuff, I was able to kind of figure out that, yep, first off, when I got the winch, I hooked it up to a battery just to see, will this work? And yeah, okay, cool, it'll work. And then the next step was, okay, if I got the thing working, now I need to get the thing powered by my house, because I wanted it powered by my house so that way I could turn it off if I needed to. All right. And so I could have just basically had a battery that would have done it, but I kind of thought that might be a little bit of a safety issue, being that you can't turn off a battery. And currently right now, my winch is mounted inside of my coffee table. So I was able to find one of my neighbors who's very good with wood and who was able to basically mount the thing inside of my coffee table. So that's kind of how it kind of works. So a lot of it was just kind of figuring it out for my winch. As far as the other stuff of like trying to hook up, replace my light switches, that's pretty straightforward. You have, basically a positive and a negative for your house. You have a ground, you have a common wire. Just make sure the electricity is shut off and make sure you follow instructions and you should be kind of good to go. So a lot of the stuff I would say is self-taught. I don't really have any I have a lot of background in computers and software development, but not a whole lot in electrical engineering. So.
Thank you for sharing. Again, just to comment about this, that you don't have to be super creative or have a lot of knowledge or background, and it can be intimidating after watching Brian's presentation, but you don't have to do everything yourself. It may seem awkward at first, but reach out to family members, reach out to friends, find someone in your neighborhood, or there's almost always someone at your church who is handy. So if you yourself aren't handy or aren't creative, don't let that discourage you. People are more than willing to help, and there's usually someone that you can find that is pretty handy or has a lot of knowledge or background in building and construction. So don't let that discourage you, but I definitely hope that Brian inspired you. We do have a few more questions. In the chat, someone was asking about flexible plumbing tubing, and can you cut that down to your desirable size? That was Kimberly. There are a lot of people in the FOP community that use PVC pipe. I actually thought I had some right here, but we're going to be talking a lot about homemade tools in just a little bit. In about an hour from now, I'm having a small group discussion specifically about homemade tools because store-bought tools, as we've said, don't always work. And sometimes you have to adapt things to work just for you. But you definitely can cut plumbing tubing. You can cut wooden dowel rods and attach things. Someone, Lori Dancer, had posed a question to you, Brian, Do you use dowels for your forks and spoons, or what type of extendable fork was that you talked about that you use with Snickers?
Yeah, so the ones I currently have right now are just basically wooden, and they're probably, I'd say, probably about an inch thick. So yeah, so they're typically just like a 1 inch thick diameter wooden dowel rod that my dad drilled a hole in the end of it. Basically cemented a fork or a spoon, and then just kind of stained it so it looked kind of nice. But you could do that with either wood, or like it says, with all the other acrylic stuff that I'm using, you could do something with acrylic as well.
Great, thank you. And I noticed that Sharon commented on that same question, that she uses a golf club handle that she attached a fork and spoon to, and so does Kimmy Shields. And I do have pictures of both of their tools, again, that I'll be sharing in the small group discussion a little bit later. Normally, when we do this Ability Toolbox presentation in person, I bring all the adaptive equipment with me, just like Amanda used to all the earlier symposiums and early family gatherings. But because of COVID, obviously we can't do that. But I do have a lot of homemade tools, pictures, and some videos that I shot to kind of show you some of the equipment firsthand. So definitely, if you're interested, it was not a presentation you needed to pre-register for, so please definitely come join me, and we will just have fun sharing a bunch of pictures on homemade tools. Let me check. I think there might have been another question. So Nikki Williams asked that, or commented first, that the biggest challenge for her is finding tools that are small enough and flexible for her daughter, who is young, and she has no back movement or arm movement. So are there any specialists that supply adaptive tools for kids? I'll take this first, and then Kristi, if you have any additional information, you can chime in. There are some adaptive equipment companies that specialize just in kids. Off the top of my head, I know eSpecial Needs in the United States is one of them. Fledgings, I think, is one in the UK, which is where Nikki is from. They have a lot of child-sized equipment. And again, a plug for the Ability Toolbox online guidebook. I am going to have a section that is specifically pediatric. So I will definitely start reaching out to the community, and if you all start sharing with me, and I will definitely start looking on my own as well. But I will make sure to post some of those pieces of equipment that you can find a little bit smaller in the pediatric section. So stay tuned, that's coming in early December. But Kristi, do you know of any other resources that are a little bit smaller adaptive equipment, like for AJ?
So I actually agree with Nikki. I think even the adaptive kids utensils that we've received have not been great. They've actually been too bulky for him. But I didn't share this, but I actually just had a spoon made from a company out of wood, and it's been phenomenal. I had to send a video of him eating and where our issue was. And I sent the video to them, and then like a picture of what we were currently using, and then they created this spoon for us. So I will get that to you, Karen, and then you can share it. And Nikki, I'll share that with you. But that's the only thing that I found pediatric wise that has worked for us.
Thanks, Kristi. There was another question to find out if anyone has adapted a brush or a shower brush to have a sturdy long handle that can be adjusted an angle. So this is one of the biggest challenges with FOP, is that a lot of the tools out there may be a little bit of an angle to some of the long handled brushes, but the angle might not be the angle that you need. So those are a perfect example of something that might need to be either adapted or made on your own. So I have purchased a few long handled shower brushes from Amazon that have metal on the inside of the handle, even though it's wrapped in silicone for comfort in case it bumps against your skin. There is a metal bar on the inside that can either be bent. If it's too difficult to bend just with your hands, you can use a heat gun or a heat tool to kind of heat it up before you bend it. So that is a little bit of a solution. Another solution is that plumbing piping that we were talking about. the PVC pipe. There are angles and attachments to PVC pipes so that you could custom make a shower brush that is exactly the angle that you need. And again, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in our small group discussion. I'm going to show you some of those PVC pipes and the adapters that you can buy to go in there. But Brian or Kristi, do either of you have experience with any long shower brush that has good angles?
Well, I was just going to add to that one thing you can do is use that splinting material that I used in one of my presentations. Because with that, you can pretty much put that on anything and make it at any angle, any length. It's just a really extremely versatile material that will allow you to kind of really customize a lot of different things.
Sorry, Brian, what material was that you said? My audio cut off and I didn't hear the very beginning. Sure.
That was the Royland splinting material. There was a link in there that I kind of, in one of my slides, where I kind of talked about that. And I've used that for a couple of different tools.
Okay, great. I will make sure that we take the slides from today, and I'll make sure they are also on our website available for you to view. So you have all of those links that we included. So we do have a comment about putting rope on stairs. I saw that going on in the chat, and then we did have a question come through. I feel like a broken record, but we are going to talk about this in our small group discussion. Nikki Williams a while back had shared with me a solution that they used on the stairs. Obviously, for safety reasons, it's great to hold a handrail, but most handrails are made for adults, and they're at a height that adults need, but what about kids? So they created a handrail in their house. I've seen a couple of different versions. I have seen people go to hardware stores and buy an actual wood handrail that looks just like a regular handrail, and they install it a lot lower. I have seen people, again, make them from the PVC plumbing piping, which is a little less expensive than getting a nice solid wood handrail. But the Williams, they used rope and just had little attachments and hooks that they placed along the wall going down the stairs, and then strung some rope through that so that their daughter Isla could hold on to that. And they put it at the height that she needed, not only because she's a young child, but also because her arms are fused a little bit lower, more around her belly area, rather than having the ability to reach up a little bit higher to hold onto a handrail. So that is some information on how you can adapt your home, and it doesn't have to be fancy. It's something that you can do fairly inexpensively. So please join us if you want to learn more about it or see pictures of it in the small discussion group. There is one more question for Brian. Brian, Brooke would like to know if you have modified your bathroom.
Not as much as I should, honestly. When I purchased my house about 15 years ago, my master bathroom had a shower tub. And shortly after, maybe about a year after that, my legs started locking up, and I was unable to get into my shower. So I had to contact a company and pretty much have them come out and rip out my shower tub and put in a shower pan. So, and I had to pretty much have all this stuff done within about a week, because I just could not take a shower in either bathroom in my house. And so right now for my shower, it's a shower pan. So I have probably about a 3 or 4 inch lip to kind of get over it, which is right now perfectly manageable for me. But there's probably more stuff I should do to make it even easier for me. Like I do have an elevated toilet seat. That's very common. So I have that with a rope to where I can kind of pull myself up. And I do have the adjusted the faucets to where I can use my stick for that. But I think in the future, what I would like to do is do more stuff to kind of make it even easier, and probably more importantly, safer. When I'm in there, where I don't fall or don't get injured, and kind of make it easier for me to kind of do stuff. So, long story short, I have modified it somewhat, but not as much as I should.
Thank you, Brian. And I think that's kind of something that commonly happens in the community, is that when we're just going along with life day to day, we don't think about what might be coming, if we might be potentially about to lose some mobility in the future, and we wait to learn about adaptive equipment, or we wait to do home modifications until we really need it. And something that I encourage you to all think about is to be a little bit proactive and think ahead to the future, because when there is a flare-up and there is a loss of mobility, that can be a traumatic experience, and it can take a lot of your energy just to process that and deal with it. And if you wait to then also on top of it deal with learning how to use a new piece of adaptive equipment, or you're just then starting to figure out, do I need to modify my home? Sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. I did see in the chat, thank you for reminding me, Eric. I do want to give a shout out to one of the programs that the Ability Toolbox program is trying to work closely with, but they are taking lead on this. There's a professor, Eric Schneider, and he is at Jefferson University in Philadelphia, and they have the industrial design and manufacturing students in the School of Design there that have graciously taken on the FOP community as the source of their projects. They did this last year, and their graduate students designed equipment that was specific for the needs of someone with FOP. And again, this was pre-pandemic, but they were able to go to a few homes of some of the people that lived in the Philadelphia area and hear about some of the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis. And they designed some really cool adaptive equipment. This was a school project, so they're not necessarily moving forward with manufacturing, but it definitely inspired a few of the students, and some of them have talked about continuing on with their projects and either working on trying to figure out how to actually manufacture them or going into a little bit more depth with the design this semester. So there's a whole new group of students this semester that are working with us. If you are interested in being a part of that, definitely email me and reach out. We will have to do it a little differently this year probably and do some virtual visits with some of those students. But they did an amazing job, and they said they really enjoyed connecting with the FOP community as well and learned a lot. So thank you, Eric, for reminding me. I'm so glad that some of them were able to join us this weekend. So if you are interested in that, definitely email me and I will connect you with them. It looks like that might be all of the questions. So again, one more plug. We do have another small group discussion. If you didn't get enough and you want to see some actual pictures of some of the things that were talked about today, or some of the videos, then definitely come join us. But please be paying attention for the launch in early December. We will get that online guidebook going. It will not have a ton of things initially, but if you are willing to email me some of your pictures and your ideas and your videos, then I will definitely get them added, and we will start making this a really valuable resource for the community. So thank you so much for everyone joining today, and thank you for making this just a really wonderful experience virtually.
Thanks, everyone.